If you're joining on the broadcast, the repeat of the broadcast, welcome to Glue Wednesday. I call it Glue Wednesday because so often people look at Wednesday and call it Hump Day. And I think that the connotation hump is not necessarily negative, but because I always am focusing on having a positive vocabulary, I look at it as, I try to remind people that Wednesday is the actual middle day of a traditional 7-day week, so it keeps the weekend and the weekend together, and that's why I call it the glue. So, because everybody's week does not start on Monday or Sunday or Monday. Some people's days start on Thursday. Hey, Janine. Hey, Karen. I'm on here early. In 5 more minutes is when I'll start the broadcast, but I'm doing the old let Facebook, as they like to say, build the audience. I normally do my Glue Wednesday at noon, but because I had technical difficulties today, I'm doing it at 3 o'clock today, just like when people wish to get out of school. Hey, Ronnie. Hey, Miriam. All right. Okay, up there in cold Wisconsin, right? Is that where you are? But anyway, you know what? In fact, would all of y'all do me a favor? Part of the reason I couldn't get this on today is what I've found is that I can see y'all come on. Now, there was also a time where I couldn't see the comments like what you sent me, Ronnie. Thank you. And so I've wanted to make it somewhat interactive where if somebody makes a comment, then I can answer them. But I don't get to see the comments don't always come if you put them in. Last week I was asking people a question. I said, so put in your response so I could total them up, and I'm like not seeing them. I said, go on, put it in. I'm serious. So I can see the thumbs up. Somebody, whoever just said, I can see the thumbs up. But hey, Chris, but you know, would you go on and write a comment in there and let me see if I can actually see your comment, even if you just hold a finger down and make a letter repeat itself. We got 3 minutes before the broadcast starts. But yeah, I don't really get to see any comments, so I can't answer any questions that people may have along the line. And that's something I'm going to send them a question to the help desk this afternoon once I finish the broadcast. So if you get a chance, send me a comment so I can see if I can respond, if I even see it. If you have it, if I don't respond in a couple or somewhat immediately, well, in fact, you know, since we still got 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes before we start this one, if you're still on, send me a comment. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Deborah. Send me a comment and then send a thumbs up to let me know that you sent a comment. That way I can tell you right away that, well, you know what, I got your thumbs up, but I didn't see the comment. So help me out with some technology, y'all, because I almost did this broadcast based on how being tech functional, not literate, which is what I embrace. I'm tech functional, not literate. I can do things with technology. I've got the Facebook broadcast. I host my own website, you know, I do the newsletters and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, I see some laughs and smiles and thumbs going up, but I don't see comments. Hey, Pat, hey. So if you've sent comments, thank you for all those hearts and smiles and thumbs up. I didn't get them. So now we know that technology is not working, and we will move on from there. No problem. We got we got about a minute to go before we start the real live broadcast. So what I had actually done also with coming on earlier is what I could explain what Glue Wednesday is while the Facebook was building the audience. And so again, Glue Wednesday, Wednesday is the middle of a traditional week that keeps the weekend and the weekend together. So I think that we don't have to worry about Hump Wednesday. We don't need to get over. We need to keep it together. And that's what I do at my broadcast every week and with my life every day and every minute. So it's always about finding ways to keep it together. And then, of course, my glue also stands for GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Not that it will take stuff apart, but that whatever is going on in your life that you need healed, that you need undone, pray and have the love of God in your life, and it will. Okay, Veronica, I'm getting I get a comment from you. Hey, Geronda. Yeah, but Veronica, I got a comment from you. Okay, that was me sending you love. Well, see if I can answer. I'll put thanks. But And I can see my response, but I don't see anybody else's. But hey, it's time for Glue Wednesday, so let's get started. My topic today is actually the tagline that I use on my monthly fund letter. If you're receiving my monthly fund letter called the Golden Brick Road, then you'll see this on every one. And it'll say whatever the month is, this is one of the 12 months for one of the best 12 months for loving, living, and laughing. And so if you see that every month, someone will say, well, yeah, you said that last month. Well, guess what? Each month is another month that we need to love, live, and laugh, because that's really what life needs to be about, is constantly putting that as our pattern. So as we come into the month of March, I thought what I'd do is, number one, I'd show you what I have an acronym in my book, Affirmations, for the month of March, and you see what it stands for there. But I want to show you how to use this book, actually, because as I was putting this program together, I ended up using it. I said, oh, wait a minute, why don't I just show people what I just did? So first of all, March is M.A.R.C.H, making a real commitment to history. Making a real commitment to history. Are you willing to march with me? And are you marching on your own? Are you making that commitment? One of the things that I do is every morning, and so this is my commitment that I'm making to history, because history is about what we do, what other people may end up saying about us more so than what we do, what we say. But if we make a conscious effort, sometimes the things that they will say about us, whether it's in your eulogy or talking about you at your retirement party, one thing you'll see, I'm not talking about us necessarily having to die to make a commitment to history, okay? But one of the things that I do every morning is part of my morning ritual. I don't answer a phone. I don't look at a text. The first thing I do every morning, and I have it blocked out in my day, is I read my Bible. See, because the first thing I want to do is I want to hear from God before I hear from the noise and the nonsense. So I read my Bible, then I'll have some type of book that I'm reading that has a positive message in it, and so I'll read from there, and then on my wall, each year I have a different scriptural theme that I keep, so that I read every morning. And hey, Jane Gentry, good. At least I see your comment. Okay, so I have scripture on the wall from my themes each year that I started doing when I moved down here to Charlotte. And I've been here 8 years. I've got 7 scriptural quotes on the wall, because one year I kept one for 2 years. And as it turns out, my scripture this year happens to be on commitment. And so the Bible that I read is called the Touchpoint Living Bible. The Touchpoint Bible is written in nice plain English, and it has these things called touch points. I hadn't thought about showing it to you, but now that's a good idea. Okay, and so that's the Touchpoint Bible. Ooh, it's shining because of the light. But the thing is that in the Touchpoint Bible, it will have these little, you can probably see the different color on, and see it in the upper, these are called the touch points. And the touch point, there you see that touch point is peace. Okay? So what this Bible does is every so often it takes one of the scriptures and breaks it down into what they call a touch point and gives it real world application. So as they talk about it, it helps you understand that scripture better, because one thing I always say to people is your best use of your pastor at your church is confirmation, not learning. You should know the Bible, or you should have the right type of faith, so that when he or she gives you a message, you can say, yes, that's true. I see how to apply that, versus that being the first time you ever thought of that. That's another broadcast. But that's how you can really support your church, is making sure that you understand your faith, so that your leader, when they are talking about stuff, it doesn't sound like they're coming out of left field. They need to know, look, if I want to lead, I need to know that I've got somebody in this group that is ready to follow right now. And then, because other people will catch up as the momentum picks up. But that's the key, and one of the keys in leading is recognizing that you need to take the pressure off your shoulders of needing an instant response from everybody in your audience, whether you're doing a speaking engagement, which is one of the things that I do, is I take that pressure off myself. I know that if I've got an audience of 20, 200, 2,000, I know I'm not going to reach all of them at, and necessarily in that small time frame that I'm in their lives, because I don't know what it took for them to get there to even hear me to speak. See, and again, that's another broadcast. But that's what you have to recognize, that when you're speaking to people and you're trying to lead people, you can't get everybody at the same time with the same thing. So you have to build the momentum. You have to be honest with yourself. And that's my commitment to history, is that I'm being true to me. And as I'm true to me, now someone who's willing to follow me will be able to follow my truth. And in following my truth, we've got a better chance of both of us getting where I need to go and where you need to go, because we're getting the right type of information to make decisions so we move forward. So one of my themes for this year, my theme for this year, one of my scriptural themes, is the one that I'm using this year, happens to be commitment. Okay, Todd, welcome back. Okay, and so I'm going to read that to you because it's on my wall. I read all of them every morning, but I'll just read this one, and it's Matthew 4:19 through 20. It says, Jesus called out to them, "Come, be my disciples, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they left their nets at once and went with him. Now, some of us may have heard that scripture or know it, but here's the key. The touch point breaks it down and says that scripture is talking about commitment. And so here's how it breaks down commitment. The simplicity of Jesus's words belie their power. The call and promise of Jesus is striking, but remains powerless without a decision on our part. If Peter and Andrew had merely listened and said, "That's a very interesting invitation. Maybe we can talk about it again after fishing season," they would not have become Jesus' disciples. Jesus demands a decision to follow him or to remain where we are. A real decision will lead to action. The disciples left their nets and followed Jesus. Without decision and action, commitment is just an interesting idea. So you can see how it takes scripture and just breaks it down into regular language that we can understand and apply to our life. Without a decision and action, commitment is just an interesting idea. So that's why, and so that's one of the things that I read every morning, and that's why and that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about March, making a real commitment to history. That's how I make my commitment. So as I thought about that March and making that commitment, I said, well, what does it take to make a commitment? Well, one of the things it takes is that you have to recognize that you're working on your legacy. And so in my book, I've got legacy. I've got it broken down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things. I'm not going to use all of them. But the ones that I wanted to point out was, one is Legacy. Listen empathetically. Gifts arrive to create you. Listen empathetically. Gifts arrive to create you. In other words, when you're working on your legacy, when you're contributing to history, you have to listen, because you don't know where the right message is coming from, so that you can make a decision that's going to make a difference in your life positively, because you want to focus on the positive decisions that you make. But your gift will arrive, and it will help create you, but you got to be ready for it. So you got to make sure that you're listening to it. And then another definition I have is legacy, learning to embrace God's ability to create yesterday. Learning to embrace God's ability to create yesterday. In other words, living with no regrets. That if you're going to making history, if you're working at your legacy, you gotta live with no regrets, because whatever you did yesterday, it was what you did. I always say that we make the best decision based on the information we have to choose to make our choice with. So don't beat yourself down with the decisions that you've made in the past that didn't turn out so well, because guess what? They didn't turn out so well based on your definition of what you wanted that outcome to be. Meanwhile, you'll be one of those people who prays, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done." Well, that means God's will, not our will. We are here to try to verbally express God's will and live it through ourselves, but sometimes it doesn't come out the way we expected it to. When that happens, don't beat yourself down. Recognize that it's now time to go back to that other one and just listen empathetically, because whatever that gift is, it's going to arrive to help you create who you are and what you need to be. Remember, wisdom is in retrospect. You can go back and look at a lot of things that you did and see that you've made some excellent decisions. What we tend to do is go back and look at the bad decisions. And then we get focused on those and we turn them into our present instead of our past. And so since we're living in the present, if we're focusing on the negative things, the things that didn't work out for us, then guess what? We can't take another step forward because we're too busy believing that we failed and we didn't make it. So how can we take another step since we think we're going in the wrong direction? When in fact, we are always going in the right direction. One of my scripture, it's not a scripture actually, it's just one of my positive sayings that I have on my wall. It says, I'm at peace just where I am. I accept my good, knowing all my needs and desires will be fulfilled. I got that from reading a book called Heal Thyself by, what's her name? Louise Hay. Heal your body. And it's different affirmations that you can use according to what ails you. So what I did is I took the different things that I have been going through, different processes, things that I needed healed. I went through the book and picked all the things that I wanted prayer and positive affirmation on and just turned it into one long affirmation. So I just read that whole thing. I can't tell you which thing on that list is covering which part of my body or my life. I just read the whole thing every morning and refresh myself. So as you can see, it's what you're doing to refresh yourself that's going to make a huge difference when you try to make a conscious move toward making history. So you have to be working on your legacy. Well, how do you work on your legacy? By focusing on your life. And you've heard me use my acronym for LIFE before, LIFE, lessons intended for everyone. Everything you do, good or bad, you're going to get a lesson from it. Just like what I was talking about in terms of legacy and going wisdom being in retrospect. Everything that happens has happened in your life has brought you a lesson. The key is, what did you learn from the lesson? How are you now applying this new lesson? Again, are you living in regret, where you're applying it and being upset with yourself for the outcome? Or are you living in joy and recognizing, wow, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but look what I got instead. I hadn't even thought of that. See, that's really the truth. A lot of stuff, even with people who like to do goal setting, you're writing it down, whether you do a vision board. Hey, Marlena. Oh, man, take me back to our Ithaca College days. I love you, my sister. Okay, but you need that book. Yes, you do, Ronnie, and you can get it on my website. All right, but the thing is, we go back and look at the lessons we had, and we forget that when we goal set or we do a vision board, we're saying what we'd like to happen, but we're still relying on God for that to manifest. When you are relying on God, guess what? Go back to that Lord's Prayer. Thy will be done. Look, God, here's what I want, but I'm willing to do I'm willing to take what you give me, and I'll use those new tools. Because we know that saying where people like to say, when God says no, that doesn't mean that he's denying you. He's saying, this is not right for you right now. Hold on a second. I've got something different for you, and we can come back to this later. Is your faith that strong? See, mine is. That's why I don't live in regret. Everything that's happened in my past, every relationship that didn't work out, every decision that I've made that didn't work out or seemed to be a bad one or whatever, every time I've hurt someone because I've done that, I haven't done it on purpose, but I've done that. And that has been a part of what had to happen in my life so that I could take the next step. I'm okay with that because that's how strong my faith is. How strong is yours? So as we're working on history, so let's go back so the acronym that I haven't given you for life is one that I created. It's called letting it flow easily. See, that's what life is about, letting it flow easily. Life is not that hard. It's really not, because we don't have but so much control over the things that happen in our lives. We can pray for it, and when it happens, we can feel like, well, that prayer was answered, and therefore I should keep praying. It's going the way I want it to. No, no, you made the right prayer, and it was time. And God said, yes, not only am I going to grant that prayer, I'm even going to grant you the vision that you prayed it at the right time. So why? So that you can feel that prayer works. And see, that becomes another part of the next step. If we keep praying and nothing goes, we never get a prayer answer, guess what? Sooner or later, somebody's going to say, well, I'm not going to pray anymore. It's not working for me. How long does sooner or later take for you? See, that's, again, that's where it comes down to. You know, what, 17 prayers was it? It was your max, and now you've given up on God? You know, how about that? Just like we say, you know, a minute is 100 years to God. So maybe your 17 prayers, maybe you needed to pray 17,000 times before you decide to give up. Don't give up. Obviously, that's what my message is. There is no number where you should give up. Continue to pray. One of the things you'll always see that I'll put on your post anytime you're talking about grief or anything like that, I'll say, I'm praying in faith, not fear, for your recovery, for your smooth recovery at a time where speed cannot heal. So I'm always going to be praying for you in faith, not fear. So life, L-I-F-E, lessons intended for everyone. Get your lesson, and then L-I-F-E, let it flow easily. Because life can be so smooth when you just let it flow. And you can let it flow. And so meanwhile, how else can you build that legacy and make that move toward history? Well, we hear life and death. Well, I'm not going to give you an acronym for death, but I'm going to give you one for die, D-I-E. And it's actually not talking about taking your life away. It's actually talking D-I-E. Do it every day. You ever hear somebody say, well, look, that's to die for. I would die for this. Even Prince, I would die for you. Do it every day. What is it that you would do every day to make yourself happy? See, what is it that you would do? What would you be willing to die for, technically, is what it comes down to. But again, I'm putting that positive spin on it to say you don't have to make, your history does not have to be recorded after your death. Your history is something that can be being recorded as you live, especially as you're working toward consciously building your legacy. Do it every day. It's your passion. It's what people talk about. It's on your vision boards. It's in your goal setting. Whatever your passion is. Just like people say, if you're following your passion, you never work a day in your life. Believe me, I just had that epiphany this week. And I've actually now started to do a countdown, because one of the things on my wall, you gotta have, are you getting the feeling that I'm thinking you should have stuff on your wall? I've done a Facebook, I think I did it as a Facebook Live once. If not, I'll check my files, and if not, I'll redo one. But it's reminding people that you need words on your walls, not just pictures. You need words on your walls so that you can read to your spirit and say what you believe. And one of my goals that I keep on my wall, I don't redo my vision board or my goals every year. I keep this one on. It says, my ultimate goal in my speaking life is I want to get to where I have 2 speaking engagements a month. No, 2 speaking engagements a week. Then get that down to 1 speaking engagement a week. Then I intend to move. Charlotte's not my last place. Then I intend to clear up my credit. My credit is terrible, and I don't care, because remember, I'm not living in regret. I spent my money. I had a ball. I did what I needed to do. Some of it I invested in making my business go where it has gone. And then I want to get down to where I'm having just 2 speaking engagements a month. And ultimately, as they say in Star Trek, the final destination is I want to have 1 speaking engagement a month. I want to be able to live off of having 1 speaking engagement a month. What am I going to do the rest of that month? I'm going to be volunteering. I'm going to be traveling, spending time with my family, with my nieces and nephews, which is next on my list of things I want you to do in terms of creating your legacy and making history. I'm going to be enjoying my life. And the epiphany that I had is that I've had this on my wall for years. I never put a date on it. I never put an age on it. I want to let that be my retirement plan, 1 speaking engagement a month, but I never put an age on it until Monday. And I was talking to a good friend of mine, one of my accountability partners. I'll give her a shout out, Michelle Ann. And as we were talking, and I thought about it, I said, yeah, you know what? I have now put 65 as my goal for that. And also because you have to realize just last week I celebrated 63 and a half, because it's 60. In August it'll be my 64th anniversary of birth. But that was 6 months ago. We call a kid 2.5. Why can't we be a half? Hey, William, Semper Fi. You know, I'm 63 and a half. So I've now given myself a year and a half to accomplish those goals that I had set on the wall, because I never put dates on them. I had only put it in my spirit. Why? Because I know what I do and do not control. And I knew that God had that in control. And he has now said, okay, Sporty, now we're going to take that goal and we're going to add to it by putting a date on it. So, and then guess what? What's in the books? 65 is retirement. See? So, you know, say once you LIFE, let it flow easily, my life is just really going well, y'all. I am absolutely having a ball. And so that's, you know, that's what I'm going to do. By 65, I'm going to be down to 1 speaking engagement a month, and then doing all those things, the volunteering, the traveling, but also that would also, what would also become is what they call making money while you sleep. Hopefully people will invest in my products. You know, don't wait for me to die to start buying my books, you know, because that's what happens a lot of times when people are gone. That's when they get famous, you know, and oh, you know, I want to have something in collection. Start collecting my stuff now while I put dates on it, so it will have value. Even when I die, you can get some value out of having an autographed book from me on such and such a date. That might end up being in a scavenger hunt or a rare find. You know, you just see, that's the way I think. Not about death, but about living and doing the things that I enjoy the most. So I'm having a ball. So DIE, do it every day. And what can you do every day to add to your legacy and make history? Be you. Be you every single day. One of the things that I love, and I don't know if people are still on here, but in my comments, I saw Marlena, who takes me back to my Ithaca College days. I saw William, who takes me back to my Chicago days. I saw Ronnie Hall, Geronda Hall, who takes me back to my Chicago days, and the close friendship and love that I have for her mother, who I also have something on my wall that I read from her every day. It takes me back to my sister that grew up down the hall from me, Ronnie Jameson, and you know, and Kimmy, like my, you know, my cousin sister-in-law, and who else I got on this list? Let me just go. Miriam, who I met on the airplane, and you know, we just sat next to the other. We just had a great connection. Chris Allen, who's been a wonderful support person that, you know, we work together with the South Carolina Army National Guard, and a part of why I love working with him, because I see his passion for what he's doing with working with his soldiers and their families. Karen Buxman, who helped me through the AATH, Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor, has been a wonderful mentor to me. Janine, who was the first person on, she's one of our cadre speakers with the yellow ribbon. You know, so, you know, it's just all of these people. Thank you, Jane. And Jane, I'm gonna have to figure out, because I actually don't have a lot of people who I don't know, as I don't just accept friendships based on names, but I don't always remember everywhere where I met somebody. But I appreciate you, and you can go on my site to pick up any of those books. Okay, so I did die. What have I got left? I only got a couple of minutes left, so let me go. So the next thing that March made me think about was a ritual. And I don't have an acronym for ritual, but that's what I want to say to you, is you have to have a ritual toward making history and toward building your legacy. And I told you about mine. I told you about mine in terms of how I start my day. And what I didn't finish saying is, after I read my Bible, I read my positive affirmation, I read my scriptures on the wall, then I will check my text messages and my email. In other words, I want to get God in me, a good spirit in me, before I go into the noise. You know, because it's not enough to pray when you get out of the noise and in the noise. You got to pray before you get into the noise, so that you can have prayer when you get in there. You already have a source that you can reconnect to. So pray before you get into the storm, because you are coming out of the storm. So part of my ritual is also I do with my 30 nieces and nephews. And that is, as I travel, I buy them postcards. I don't mail the postcards to them. I buy the postcards and I send them 2 or 3 at a time in an envelope, always with a one-liner. Uncle Sporty loves you. You're an important member of our family. You know, and the date. I send these when the child is born. So I've got a great niece who is not even 6 months old. I don't even know her age, but she's starting to get the postcards. Why? When she is able to read, I could be gone already, making a real commitment to history. I could be gone already. But guess what? She'll have something from her Uncle Sporty who she'll be hearing about, you know, from older people. Your uncle was this. Who knows what I'll make in the news when I'm gone? And so therefore, they'll be able to say, yeah, well, they said, well, the media says Uncle Sporty did this, and then they said, and you know what? This is what he did for me. He did all of that for the world, and he did this for me. How special is that going to make my nieces and nephews feel? How special can you make somebody feel in your life? Okay. Oh, Jose. Oh, Haas. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for that. That's my homeboy. Right. And he gave me the reference. Because me and him, we grew up in the building together. That's, again, another a great connection. Thank you, Jane Gentry. So that's the thing, is what can your nieces, your nephews, your children, the children in your area, the people who you grew up, what can they say about you? Because the public is going to have an opinion of you. But how can you bring that down to real life and be about yourself? See, that's important to me. And so that's one of the things that I do. And then I also, you know, I've even taken my business card, and I don't even need why I reach for that, because I'm not gonna, probably won't be able to see it. But on my business card, as you can see, oh, there it is. What's that last title you see? It was right where my finger was. Uncle. I put that on my business card as one of my titles. And actually, I'm going to move that and put it as my first title. Because it's just like I joke with my audiences a lot of times when I say, well, I've got 30 nieces and nephews, and people are like, wow. I say, oh, don't be impressed. I didn't put in the work. But the truth is, and then I turn that right around and say, but you know what? I put in the work now. Because I recognize the gift and the blessing to be called uncle. To be somebody uncle. And I actually do have an acronym for uncle. And my acronym for uncle is a new one. UNCLE, understanding nuances, choosing to love everyone. Understanding nuances, choosing to love everyone. In other words, I can have those conversations with my nieces and nephews that they can't have with their parents. And maybe I can be that bridge that they need, and make them feel good about something that they can or cannot express. Okay. Hey, Joe, birthday there. Birthday woman, welcome to another 365. Good to see you again. Okay. But, you know, what can you do? You know, who are you? Are you an uncle? Are you an aunt? Are you a neighbor? You have a title. You make a difference in people's lives. So go on and be willing to be conscious about that difference that you make, so that you can move people through. And lastly, in terms of rituals, one of the things that I do is my page. I have decided to dedicate my page to solutions and being uplifting. So you won't see the negative posts on my page. You won't see the political jokes and all that, because I chose not to do that. And it's not that I'm disconnected with what's going on in the world or unconcerned. I'll go to your pages, and you know it. I'll go to your page and I'll laugh out loud. I'll make a comment on some, you know, #2 type issues. I'm involved in those issues, but we can see them everywhere. I want my page. I have decided that my page is going to be the solution page, where you can come after you've dealt with one of those issues that everybody knows about. So you don't need to get that information from me. I don't need to be that source. I want to be the salve for it. I want to be the solution to show you how to deal with the idiocy and the nonsense that's going on in our world. And so that's what I've decided to dedicate my page to. And thank you, Ronnie. Yes, I'm the best uncle in the world. I am. Because I love it, and I'm the best brother and sister. Ronnie is, like, you know, like I said, I call her my sister from down the hallway. her kids call me Uncle Sporty. And we know, you don't have to have the maternal connection. Believe me, I don't take it lightly. It's an even bigger compliment to me when someone, they meet me as Uncle Sporty. She introduced her kids to me as Uncle Sporty. They don't say, well, that's not your maternal brother. They appreciate and they honor me with calling me that. And I would never call them anything less than a niece or a nephew. Even in my family, we don't use the terms stepbrother, stepsister, even though we don't necessarily have the same fathers. Come on, y'all who know my family know that. Thank y'all for those thumbs up, because that's what's going on. Hey, Deidre. Hey, Dee Dee. Miss Dee Dee. Thank you. Yes, Miss Dee Dee, I laugh when I think about you, because I remember at Miss Marguerite's celebration, you say, oh, Sporty, you doing my funeral. See, you gotta laugh about everything. There's so many good things going on. Oh, y'all are killing me. I'm loving. I don't know if all these thumbs up and hearts have been saved and they just fall up right now. Hey, Joanne, keep dancing. In fact, when Jane Gentry told me that Jose, my boyhood friend, had referred her to being on my page, that's the guy you were dancing with. That was Haas that I introduced you to, that y'all was just dancing up a storm. Anyway, so let me close it out here. Is that remember that this page is going to bring you the solutions. I'm going to have positive information for you on this page. And if you don't already subscribe, go to my website. I do a monthly fun letter, not a newsletter, a fun letter, and I call it the Golden Brick Road. I call it the Golden Brick Road because it's a program that I had created when I was in Chicago, speaking of 5 senior citizen centers a month. So I call those the golden ages. So I call it my seasoned citizens. I created the newsletter to keep in touch with my seasoned citizens in Chicago, and I've now expanded that to make it a letter that I send out. I send out the reminder email every month. So if you want to subscribe to it, you can. You can't subscribe to it. You can send me an email. Send me your email address, and I'll send you the reminder. But it's going to be the reminders to let you know that it's been posted, because I don't necessarily get it up there on the first day of every month. But I send that reminder and again, it's also a good way for me to keep in touch with you. Come on, y'all. All of these things are conscious efforts that we need to be doing to March, making a real commitment to history. So you can't commit to history until you commit to yourself. Remember that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of every puzzle in your family, social, or business interactions. Yet, no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, that puzzle is called incomplete. That's why my company is called The Top Line. And the top line is how I feel affects other people. You make a difference. And when you make sure that you're handling your piece of the puzzle, guess what? That puzzle will become complete. And one thing I want to add to that, and I think if I haven't done a broadcast, I'm now feeling like I want to do that one. You can put broadcast suggestions in the comments as well. But one of the things I remind people about being a puzzle is sometimes it's because it's your life, you are the nucleus of your puzzle. And so if you're the nucleus, and we know that nucleus means the middle, if you are in the middle of your puzzle, guess what you have to have? You have to have patience. Because you have to wait for your puzzle to end, the borderlines, the guidelines in your puzzle to be completed so they can move towards you. So have that patience with yourself, recognizing that you are the nucleus of your puzzle. And when you can have patience with you, your picture will fill in as it goes, according to God's blessing. Thank you for being a blessing. Make sure that you go check this out on, if you're already on YouTube, fine, and subscribe there. I don't know all that stuff, but yeah, go check it out on YouTube for me. That's going to be helpful. And I will rebroadcast on my other pages. Thanks again. God bless you. Glue Wednesday. God's love undoes everything. You make sure that you don't need to worry about getting over, but you just need to keep getting it together every single day. Ciao.